Well, today we're looking at my 1998 Fruhoff pneumatic tanker. A few years ago I had S-cam lock up on this. Wasn't able to get the proper parts. Kind of slammed it together the wrong way with intentions of fixing it right away. Here we are 3 years later and it's time to actually fix it properly. What we're going to do is rip these wheels off, take the brake drum off, pull the brakes off, they need to be replaced, replace the S-cam, we'll grease up the hub, all that fun stuff. So go ahead and join me. Somebody left my pliers out in the rain, so that's fun. They don't work as well when they're rusty. I suppose before we get too excited, we ought to jack this thing up. After all, we are in my shop, otherwise known as where my dog poops. You want to make sure that you jack your truck up on nice, soft, wet grass. So when the jack falls through the grass, a 60,000 pound trailer can turn your head into a smoothie. Okay. Okay, now let me tell you what you don't want to do. You don't want to go beating on this from the backside, trying to pop it off this way, or beating on the sides here. All you're going to end up doing is breaking the drum. What you want to do is hit her right here, because this is where it's rusted stuck, and along the where it meets the hub here. You want to beat this. And there she is. You heard it change sounds. And she'll slide right off, as long as you have your brakes released. If you don't have your brakes released, you're going to be in for a fight. Now what we're going to do is go ahead and take these brakes off. These brakes are shot. If DOT saw these, I think they'd just tear me out of the truck and throw me in jail. So I'm not going to worry about fighting these springs. We're just going to take the old zip zapper and cut these right off. And these drums are going to go ahead and just butterfly off there. Oh, baby. Oh, wow. Wow. That is significantly worse than I even thought it was. Okay, so what we're looking at here is, this is your S-cam. It's shaped like an S. Brake shoes have little rollers that sit in here, and when this spins, it spreads the brake shoes apart. Brake shoes press on the inside of the drum. That's how your brakes work. They're not supposed to do this. That's not normal. What happened here is there was a C-clip here, and apparently I gave up the ghost, so this thing's just flapping in the wind. So we're gonna go ahead and you can't get this S-cam out without pulling the hub off. So we'll pull this hub off and then we'll pull that S-cam out. Radio edit. Before you jack the axle up, make sure the trailer doesn't have any air in the system. As you're working on the project, trucks inevitably leak a little bit of air, the bags start to settle, trailer starts to settle, and when the trailer sits down with no air in it, the axles move. And bad things can happen when the axle moves when it's sitting on a jack. Jack starts to lean, all of a sudden trailer's on top of you. So drain the air first, then jack up the axle. Okay, well, I hear you barking, big dog. You're going, well, how in the hell do we get that hub off there? That's what I'm here for. I'll show you how. First of all, you'll want to get some gloves because things are about to get messy. Okay, word of caution. This is an older trailer. These are grease-packed hubs and bearings. If you're working on a new trailer, chances are it's going to be oil bath. So you're going to want to drain this hub. I'm sure there's a drain somewhere. You want to drain this first. Otherwise, at least when you take this cap off, you better have some sort of bucket underneath. But 1/2-inch socket. This baby should come right off. Just a little bit of residual air in the system. This is how the automatic airing system for the tires is operated. The axle is actually filled with air at the same as the proper tire pressure. Air comes out of the center, feeds into here, and these two lines go off to your valve stems on the trailer, or on the tires, I mean. What's next? Once we're here, we got this little locking ring in here. A lot of hubs are different, but they're pretty much all the same. You got some sort of locking ring, and then you're gonna have a nut behind it. Take the locking ring off. These shouldn't be super tight. I'm already seeing other problems. This is part of the bearing cage. How did that happen? Really big socket. This is 4 13/16, I think. It's an 8-sided socket. Every axle is going to be different. Depends on what brand and what size, and what they're rated to haul. The age. Okay, here's your first nut. And I just lay all these right back in the hub in order. And here is our bearing cage. So we have a bearing that was about ready to fail. That's bad news. It's all sorts tore up and bent. So we're gonna have to fix this while we're here. Okay, if you look in here, these needle bearings they're not organized. That cage is supposed to keep those perfectly aligned, and something happened to cause that cage to break. So we'll figure that out as we go, though. Okay, we're back here. Got a pry bar. Hoping this will get this out of here. Yep, she's gonna come, and all the bearings are gonna fall out. Oofta, I've never seen this happen before. This is new. Well, there's the inner race. Wow. Okay, so hopefully yours doesn't look like that, but once you get the nut and the bearing out, you should be able to just give this a little tug. Sometimes they'll fight. Wheel seal back here kind of gets stuck together. Usually they break in half when you take these hubs off, so always make sure you have wheel seals on hand before you do this. There she comes. Another part of our bearing. These are kind of heavy, but go ahead and lift it off. What in the devil? There we go. Oh, it looks like this wheel seal failed and water got into this hub. There's rust on the inner bearing. There's rust here around the edge of the seal. There's also rust here on the spindle. I'm thinking rust got in there and tore those bearings up. Oh no. Looks like the spindle got damaged as well. Bearing spun on it. Let's deal with one thing at a time here. Well, let's go ahead and get started on this S-cam, get this out. We still have to deal with this, and then once that's done, we'll deal with this. That's all we can do. All right, so what are we looking at here? Basically what we have is there's a C-ring, locking ring here. Should be some washers and some other junk. But take this C-ring off, should be able to push the S-cam out the other way. I'm gonna warn you right now, these things can be a real bugger, but this one is only a few years old, so I'm hoping it doesn't fight too much. There we go. You want to lay these down in order if you can. Try and keep track of what direction they go. Okay, so that's going to be another fight. As you can see here, this bearing must come apart as well. And it's stopping us from getting this S-cam out very easily. So we're going to have to replace this bearing here as well. Okay, I got the S-cam out. There's supposed to be bushings in here, or a bushing and then some seals. This is the part I had a hell of a time finding a few years ago, so this is weird. Apparently that bushing is gone somehow. I don't know if it broke or what. And this guy came apart as well. But if you buy the kit for one of these trailers, I believe it comes with all these parts. It does not come with an S-cam. The S-cam is separate. Usually you can reuse the S-cam, which I think we're going to be able to. Okay, so here we have our parts kit. I believe I have 2 in one box here. I don't believe it comes with 2 sets per box, but we've got the bushings to hold the grease in. Got some washers. These are your bushings. And these are your inner bushings. So we have all the parts to replace everything that's messed up. Let's go ahead and do it. First thing we'll do here is get these guys out of here. There we go. Right in the eyes. That was a terrible idea. Okay. Behind here you have this plate. Just make sure you put that back. It's there for a reason. But first we'll clean all this stuff up because you want your work to look professional, okay? Don't get down here and make a mess. Especially if you got DOT critiquing you. Okay. Bolt this bad Larry on. I got some new nuts and washers here. Those old ones are pretty crusty, so we'll get rid of them. Then you want your grease zerk towards the back of the trailer so you can get to it. And I'm actually not going to tighten these all the way until we have the S-cam pushed through and they're to make sure that the bushing is nice and lined up and it's not crooked, gonna wear weird or anything like that. Okay, next up we have our bushing. And bushing gets pressed into here. One thing you want to keep an eye on is there's a hole in this bushing. And that's there so that grease can get inside here. As you can see, the grease zerk is here. If you would focus, and that hole comes inside of here. Focus. There's a hole there. So you want to make sure that hole and the hole in your bushing are lined up when you press this in. And I'm just going to put this guy in by using a seal driver. Oh goodness. That's loose. So what I think happened here is this got wallered out when that bushing disappeared. And not really any good way to fix that besides pull this thing out, weld it up, have it reamed out by a machine shop. We're not going to do that. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take a sharp punch and I'm just going to put dimples all along the inside of here just to raise up the metal a little bit and tighten up that bushing. That should be about all it takes to tighten up that bushing. Shouldn't take much. So we'll go ahead and line this puppy back up again. Put that hole. And that'll work. So you want the flat side of the seal on the outside. We're just going to put it in. It'll be, I have a bigger driver now, so that bushing will be nice and flush. Okay, so there we go. You have both seals in. Got the bushing in. Got this side done, of course. Put that bushing in there. So now we can go ahead and put this S-cam back in. A few words of advice. These things, these tend to get lost or thrown away or broken. These are supposed to be here. These keep the wheels for your brake shoes from walking inwards. When the wheels start walking inwards, the shoes start hanging out of the drum. I apologize for the wind today, guys. It's North Dakota, so it's constantly blowing like 45 miles an hour here. We'll slide our S-cam in. Okay, we have it all finished. Got our anti-walk plate there. There's a washer on this side of that bushing and a C-clip. There's another bushing to keep the slack adjuster centered. A big bushing and a little bushing, and then another C-clip here. And then I just kind of lifted this up so everything looked nice and straight, and I tightened up these bolts. That's done. The only other thing you want to do is go ahead and grease up these zerks. Grease them up good, and then that's it, you're finished. Okay, so now that we have the S-cam done, let's go ahead and see what damage we've done to our spindle. I was looking at this bearing. You can see it's work hardened, it got hot. It's spun on the spindle, it's blued. So obviously we've done some damage to the spindle. I think we've caught it just in time, but we'll take a closer look. This is what we got. She's a little grooved up. Looks like the back didn't get damaged, but this one's ground up a bit. Basically, I'm not going to worry about it as long as the bearing still fits nice and tight on here. What do you do if this is too bad? About the only thing you can do is there's professional mobile teams that can come out. They can chop the spindle off, weld a new one on, make sure it's all aligned and all that stuff. That's way above my paid grade. But there's guys that do that. They come out and this is all they do. Or they go to shops and do it. The only other option you would have is pretty much replace the entire axle, which both options are pretty expensive. So as long as this bearing still sits on here right, spins properly and all that, we're not going to worry about it. Surprisingly enough, I had new bearings for this sitting on the shelf in the single stall. And this would go on here like this. It's a little snug. That's okay. I would rather it be tight than loose. Might be kind of a bear to get on and off, but I suppose what a guy could do is maybe sand some of these burrs off of the spindle's damaged. Maybe I'll do that. I'll just smooth this out with like some 400 grit sandpaper. Smooth it out so that the bearings aren't getting caught on there going on. If there's one thing you can bank on in trucking, it's that everything that can go wrong will go wrong. Every brake change, there's a wheel seal or bad bearing or an oil leak or something or ABS sensor. Every time there's something you gotta do. It's just part of the job. Okay, got that cleaned up. You always want to make sure you clean up this back surface here really well, because this is where your oil seal sits. If that's dirty, it'll just tear up your new seal. So make sure you have this nice and clean, and that'll keep the water out next time. As far as I like to set my hub inside the drum, just makes it a little bit more manageable. It's your wheel seal. I've already popped it out because I had to see what the numbers were on this bearing so that I could see if I had one in stock. All I do is take a long bar and pry it out of there. The seal comes out. Replace these every time. They're junk every time you take the hub off. Your back bearing is going to be here. This bearing seems okay-ish, but I'm going to go ahead and replace them both. You just want to get in here and clean all this old grease out, and just like how we cleaned on the spindle, you want to clean this inside here really well, where your oil seal sits. Okay, well, here we are. We got her all cleaned up, but these races have some pitting. This is the rear one. This one isn't too bad, but front one's got some pitting on it. So we need to pound these races out and put new races in here. And that's a bit of a job, but I'll show you how to do it the easiest way. So this is the best way I have found to do this. What we're going to do is lay a bead all the way around the inside of this race. And it seems counterintuitive because you're heating up a metal surface. It's interior of another surface, but when that bead cools down, it's going to shrink this race. They don't fall out, but they basically almost fall out compared to not welding them. So I'm going to lay a bead. I'm going to flip this hub over and see there's notches on the inner and outer bearing, so you can get a nice long punch in there, right there. And just go left and right, hammer them out. Okay, this bead doesn't need to be pretty, it doesn't need to be elegant, none of that. Just lay a bead all the way around the inside of this. Get your big girl hammer. There she is. Okay, so I got both those other races out. Make sure you clean up this area really well. And what I like to do is take your old race, put a slice in it so that it's not so tight in here, and throw your new race in the freezer for an hour or so. We'll set it in here. And we will use our old race to tap the new one in. Whoops. Well, now look what we've done. Alright, the hammer wasn't working like it normally does, so had to step up our game a little bit. Since we're crooked here, I'll just spin this, double check. We want to make sure that's fully seated in there. It's important. That's it. They're both in. Okay, so what do we do next? You're going to take your new bearings, and they're shipped in Cosmoline or something to keep them from rusting. You want to go ahead and clean that junk off. Hit her good with the brake clean. Wipe them down good. Blow them out with an air hose. Okay, once you got your bearings all clean, we're going to pack these just like you do with a car, except these take an enormous amount of grease. If you have oil bath hubs, you do not need to pack these with grease. Don't do that. The oil does the work for you. So the goal is here to push grease up in this crack and get it stuck in between each one of these wheels. And your hands will probably hurt by the time you're done, but you gotta do it. Okay, so we drop the inner bearing in there, and we'll put the wheel seal in. Next, we're going to go ahead and put our wheel seal in. This dish side goes down, flat side stays out. This might just push in, but usually they need a little tap. You just want to go nice and even all the way around it. And then this hub is ready to throw back on the spindle. We'll put the outer bearing on, put that big nut on, and put the locking ring on. Well, we're back. Tomorrow is today, and today was yesterday. I don't know, time got away from me. Let's go ahead and finish this up. Okay, so what are we doing here? I got the hub with the bearing in there, and the new wheel seal. I cleaned up my nut and my locking ring. Cleaned up my hub cover. Before you put your hub on, you want to make sure that your ABS sensor, we want to move it out just a little bit, because as you're taking the hub off, sometimes they get pushed in. Then your ABS won't work. These ones are just pushed in. You can wiggle them back and forth, and you can wiggle them out a little bit. Doesn't take much. We got our spindle all cleaned up. As perfect as it'll get. A little bit of grease and put it around here for the new wheel seal, so it has something to slide on. So if you don't do that, the seal isn't lubed and it'll just get hot and fail again. Okay, do that, then we put our hub back on. There we go. And then I like to, I use a little over half a tube to pack the bearings, and then I just like to take the rest of the tube and smear it on the inside here, because as the hub gets hot, this grease will get soft and kind of move like oil. So I end up putting basically entire tube grease in a hub. Just kind of mush it in there. Do the best you can. I don't know why I'm doing this, because I'm just going to grab another greasy bearing. You grab your other packed bearing, lift up the hub a little bit, and that baby should slide right in there without too much fight. Okay. Well, I literally just put a fresh battery in my camera, then it died. So that's cool. Anyways, we're back at the task at hand. Gonna take our nut. These kind of little teeth part go on the outside, flat part goes on the inside. Put this baby on. Take your ratchet, and we're going to tighten this thing down. As we tighten it, we're going to spin it. Tighten it a little bit and spin it. Spin her both ways. Tighten it and spin it. And we're just going really tight to seat these bearings home, and then I'll back her off. And we don't want these super tight. You want a little bit of drag on them, but not too tight, otherwise you'll burn up your new bearings. Kind of like that. And then as this grease works its way around and gets softer and ages, this will get looser and spin a little freer. Now we're going to take our locking ring. We're going to take our locking ring and see where in the devil. Oh, there she is. You have to find a spot where the bearing feels good, and also the teeth of the locking ring align. which right now is a little bit tighter. Okay, now a little bit looser. Whoa! Just a little bit. Oh, that's a lot of bit. There it is. Double check that our hub feels good. Double check that our ABS sensor is up against the tone ring on the back of the hub. There shouldn't be any play inwards or outwards. That feels perfect. You won't believe this, but it's raining in my shop. Set that up there so I can lose it. Take a couple of our bolts. This is for the automatic airing system we talked about earlier. That goes in this hole. There we go. We'll let that set up for 5-10 minutes. Come back and tighten these down. Oh, it's raining a lot now. It's raining a lot. I'm getting wet. Well, we're back. A little wetter than we previously were, but that's okay. Okay, we'll go ahead and snug these babies up. They don't gotta be crazy tight. Okay, next up we'll throw some brakes on this thing. Maybe you're fancier than me and your box of brakes won't be wet. This is what we have in the box. We got 2 shoes. And, we got 2 shoes and then a bag of bushings and springs. There'll be a goofy looking retainer thing like this. Put this on and this sits in here. Oops, probably want to go the other way. And they'll sit in there like that. Do that on both shoes. Oops. Wrong pin. And then we'll have a couple of these hook lappy dealy doos. Grab your wet hammer. Wipe it off with a wet rag. And these are going to sit in here, in this hole here. Usually they need just a little love tap to get them in there. And swing from the proper side. There we go. We'll kind of lock in here. And that's what our big spring is going to hook on. So do that on the other shoe as well. Okay. So these are just where the other side of the shoe kind of sits on. A lot of times these get seized in here. Can't even tell if there's bushings left in there. Looks pretty loosey-goosey. Just gonna go ahead and use one of these punches. Get behind the seal if I can. There we go. There we go. Okay. I'm going to clean up this hole with die grinder or something, and then put these new bushings in. Okay. For the top one, I'm going to put the split on top because the pressure of the shoe will be pushing down. And then for the bottom, I'm going to put the split on the bottom because the pressure of the shoe will be pushing up, basically. This would have been easier before I put the hub on. Okay. Sticking out about even on both sides. Do the other one. Where in the world? Where'd it go? Pins in. I'm going to put a little bit of grease on these pins. Hopefully prevent them from sticking in there too bad. It's time to change them next. There she goes. Drop that in the dirt. Basically, we just want them centered in there so each sides of the shoe can come sit on them. I like to take and put just a little bit of grease on rollers for the S-cam too, or for the rollers that sit on the S-cam rather. Hooked together. A little bit of finagling, they'll get where they gotta be. You want to make sure you have your S-cam turned so that these can sit in here. You want the wheels to be able as close as they can be, so you're not fighting this thing trying to get the brakes on. We have them sitting on both these pins really well, and on the other side. Now we have to get these springs on, which go in these holes, front and back, or left or right. And they make a tool for this, which I have, but you don't need it. You can get one side hooked can get a long pry bar in here and pry it up, or a needle nose vice grip, and grab on it and hook it on. But I don't think the tools cost very much. If you're going to be doing this on a regular basis, grab one of these. Just hooks the spring in on both sides, and you can stretch the spring and put it on. And these things don't always work the best either, but in my experience, it's better than not having it. Okay, there we go. That's the outside. And it's the exact same thing on the inside. There you go. The brakes are on, that's it. I'm going to take some brake clean, wipe these clean, and also the inside of the drum before we put that on. I'll be back. Ugh. I like this stuff, muscle grease. I spray this on the hubs to keep the brake drum from seizing on, and then I also put it on the brake drum to keep the hubs from, or the rims from seizing on there. Put it on the lugs too. Take some brake clean and just get our greasy fingerprints off these. Grab our brake drum. Put this puppy on. Want to make sure you clean the inside of these brake drums before you put them on, because they're just like some of the other parts, they're shipped with cosmoline or something in them to keep them from rusting during shipment and whatnot. There we go, that's that. Next up, we'll put our wheels back on. See how much the truck suck into the ground. Probably can't even get them on anymore. Just gonna turn this a little bit. Get it to line up with this guy. There we go. Where's she gonna go? Oh, B. Wow. Maybe. I did not spray the drum, did I? Take two. Okay, if you have the automatic airing system, you need to take your air line to the inside tire and run it through the opposite hole, which would be this hole, not this hole that I'm in right now. There we go. And that muscle grease will act as some form of anti-seize on these lugs as well, so I'm not going to worry about putting actual anti-seize or anything on. Okay, we got those just tightened with the impact on. We'll set this thing on the ground and we'll torque these lugs. All right, listen, let's have a chat, you and I. I know there's a lot of guys that just pound these on with the impact and send her down the road. I'm telling you, don't do it. Get a torque wrench, do it properly. Every set of wheels I've ever lost was because they weren't torqued right, and one of them cost me $3,500 and the other one was $2,000. These things are $300 on Amazon. 450 to 500 foot-pounds. We've all seen the videos of these things flying through people's windows and through their houses. They kill people when they come off. Torque your tires, please, for the love of God. I'm trying to be professional out here. That's it. We'll set these brakes and we're done here. They sell these fancy tools, but you don't necessarily need them. All this does is go behind this little pin and hold it out. That unlocks the adjuster so you can adjust it. Otherwise you just take a screwdriver and pry behind this and hold it out. And lefty is tighty and righty is loosey. You're just going to go until the drum is seated, and we're going to go back a little over a quarter turn. That's about it. We're done here. Well, that's it. Project done. That's how you change brakes, fix a spindle, fix bushing holes, replace bushings. You saw what happened. That's what you do. Of course, we got into this job and it was harder than it should have been, which is pretty normal for trucking. So if you're doing this, get used to it. It's not that hard. A couple tools you might have to buy, but it's a hell of a lot cheaper than paying a shop. And most of the time when you pay the shop, you get the truck back, it's still broken anyway. So that's it. I'm gonna put all these tools away. I hope this was helpful. I know how hard it is to succeed being an owner-operator, truck driver. Profit margins are thin, so if you can buy some tools and get the job done yourself and you know it's done right, well, you've done good. So, thanks for watching. Oh hey, and by the way, if you watch this just for grins and giggles and you don't even own a truck, thanks for joining me. I'm glad I could show you a little bit of what it's like working on semi-trucks. There's going to be more of this to come on the channel, so go ahead and join us. Oh, and PS, if you have an axle like this, it can be a real bugger trying to find parts for it. This is the part number, I think it's S21181. If you have S-cam bushings that you normally get and they're too big for the holes on this trailer, these are the parts you need. I wasn't able to find them at all a while ago. That's why I put this together all messed up in the first place. But eventually found some new old stock on eBay and I bought everything I could. So there you go. Hope that helps.